All right, welcome back to the Mighty Habits Podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Stephen Escridiolo. We love to do deep dives on this show. And today we're tackling something, well, it's something I think a lot of people are interested in, and that's leadership. But with a twist, we're going to be looking at what you might call unconventional leadership. So, forget all the typical advice. It's being assertive and all that jazz. We're going to look at some strategies. They're a little bit unorthodox, maybe even counterintuitive, but have really proven to be successful. I kind of think of it like, when you're playing a video game and you discover a secret shortcut that totally changes the way you play the game. You're like, whoa, I never thought to do it that way. Says what we're aiming for here, a real mind shift. You know how people say great leaders are born, not made? Well, I'm not so sure about that. I think there's a lot we can all learn from people who have dared to lead a little differently, people who have broken the mold and achieved amazing things by thinking outside the box. So get ready to explore the unconventional side of leadership.
We're going to uncover some real gems today. So for this deep dive, we're taking a look at The Virgin Way by Richard Branson. That guy built a whole empire, being Richard Branson. Adventurous, always up for a challenge. You might not immediately think leadership guru when you hear the name, but that's what's so interesting. Branson has this leadership secret weapon that he talks about in the book. It's pretty simple, actually. It's listening. Now, you might be saying, Stephen, listening. Come on, it's basic stuff. Yep, you'd be right. But Branson takes listening to a whole new level. He doesn't just talk about it. He really lives it. He really demonstrates it. And his whole leadership style. In the book, he says, to be a great leader, you really have to be a great listener. Not just hearing the words, but really understanding the perspectives, the nuances, the unspoken concerns of your team. He believes that true leadership isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about making sure everyone feels heard, that they feel valued, and that they feel empowered to share their best ideas. Branson says that deep listening, it builds trust. It encourages new ideas and ultimately leads to better results. Yeah. It's all about recognizing that every single person on your team, I'm from the most senior exec to the newest person on the team, that they all have something important to contribute. And Branson, well, he really does walk the walk when it comes to listening. And there's this story he tells in the book about how he once put off a big decision, a huge company decision, all because, well, a junior employee had mentioned a concern. They were just chatting. Imagine that. A decision worth millions put on hold, all because someone just starting out spoke up. But it turned out this employee had a brilliant point, one that everyone else had totally missed. By taking the time to listen, Branson avoided a huge mistake. And he also showed his team that everyone's opinion matters, no matter their job title. It made me think about how we often, we rush through conversations. We want to get our own point across. But sometimes we even interrupt. Before someone's even finished talking, we might be hearing the words. But are we really listening? Are we trying to understand the other person's perspective? Branson's approach really shows us that leadership isn't about always being right or being the one in charge all the time. It's about creating an environment where people feel comfortable sharing their ideas and knowing that they'll be heard. So I want to leave you with this. What would your workplace look like? Or even your personal relationships, what would they be like? If you really embrace this idea of listening, what kind of problems could you solve? What could you achieve? Just something to think about. This is Stephen from the Mighty Habits Podcast, signing off. Until next time, keep those ears open and those minds curious.